Has YouTube changed us? Are we different people? Do we kind of live this different life now that we have all of this YouTuber success? And what I am like on the camera, is that truly who I am, like at home behind the scenes? Like, I think those are valid questions that, let's be honest, we probably all want to ask like the YouTubers that we watch. So let me answer that today. Hey friends, I'm Heidi with Heavenly Minded Home, and we have been sharing on YouTube for the past 5.5 years, which seems kind of bananas. And we've been doing this September show and tell this month where we are answering y'all's questions and showing you quite literally how we do these different things. And I love getting to share and to do this, but one question that we've gotten is kind of even the question that I think some of you aren't asking, but you kind of want to know. And it's, is this really what we're like? Is this what our life is really like? Is this really what we do? Is this really who we are? Like, how have we changed since doing YouTube? And so I was thinking about this because we've gotten emails, I've gotten private messages, we've gotten different things. And I was like, you know what? I'm willing to bet there's probably more of where this came from. And there's also a lot of assumptions that are made by those who watch, which totally get it, because we all make assumptions when we watch someone and we go, that must be what they're like or what they do or whatever. We all do that. That's fine. But I was thinking about this and I said, you know what? I'm going to phone a friend, because I have a friend who's one of my longest friends. We've known each other since we were like 13 years old, went to school together, and then throughout adulthood, her and her family have also been very involved with our family's lives since we started this YouTube thing. So I thought that would be the perfect opportunity to say, you know what? Let me phone my friend and let's ask her what she thinks. Has YouTube changed us? Is this really who we are behind closed doors, or do we just put on a facade? So let me get Alexis on the phone and she will answer all of our questions here for us. Okay, Lex, you have known me probably like the longest of nearly everybody in my life right now. You are like one of my few friends that are still in my life today that actually knew me before Brandon and I were a couple, which is impressive because we've been together for forever. We don't know many people that knew us before we were a couple.
I was just trying to do the mental math. Are we going on like 24 years? Is that right?
What year are we in? 2023. Yeah.
Because I was like 12.
Yeah. And because I had just turned 13 and we're just a few months apart. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's been a while. So I think you are one of the most perfect people to ask this question of, because A, you've known me longer than nearly anybody else in my life today. B, you actually knew me before Brandon and I were a couple. C, you knew what our lives were like and like what it looked like. But then you've also been around with us since this whole like YouTube journey that I decided like randomly like, ooh, let's do this. So I think that, I mean, I can think that things are the same or whatever, but I think there's a difference to kind of even hear it from somebody else, right? Has YouTube changed us? Because I think it's funny now too, especially since there's been so many more. And I mean, you know this, I didn't know that being a YouTuber was a thing. I just thought it was easier to talk than to type up blogs.
But yeah, so I've been kind of marinating on this question because we knew that we were going to have this conversation, and the answer is weird because it's yes and it's no, but it's mostly no, and here's why. You and Brandon both are the core of who you are, the core of your personality, how you put things together, how you present things. That's always been you in particular. That's always who you've been. As far as YouTube goes, has there been change in your life since you started YouTube? Well, yeah, but it also happened to coincide with your journey of digging deeper into your faith, growing closer to the Lord. If anything, it's made you softer. It's made you more compassionate. You feel more for others that are outside of your sphere, I guess I would say. Like, you know, way back in the day, you know, your personality is the same. And of course, we've known each other since we were teenagers. So I think all teenagers are like this anyway. But you were very good at shutting out the external things that were just like white noise and would interfere with like your plan or your vision.
Yes.
And now it's grown as you've been on YouTube, but it has nothing to do with that. It really has everything to do with your growth in the Lord. You know, you're softening, you care way more about, you know, like you are heartbroken for the people that are heartbroken in your life. And you are, you know, so way more invested in that way. But ever since you became a mom, you've always been like, I'm going to post things on blogs and I'm going to build up, you know, you guys started really young and you needed to find a way to support your family.
Yeah.
And so it was, I'm going to go to school for business and I'm going to have a full-time job and it's always been, you've always hustled, I guess would be the word. It's always been,
was a thing.
What way can I tweak this? What way can I do this? But it was never for, you know, building yourself up. It was just more like, what's my outlet? How can I, you know, I think you've talked about this in your testimony and stuff that we recorded way back. You were in a position early on in your marriage and being a very young mom where you were very isolated. Mm-hmm. And your friends were the friends on the mommy boards. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where blogging started for you. That's where then would turn into vlogging, then would turn into all of that. It was your way of building a community around you of those that would help you, you know, feel supported and where you could feel like you were making a difference. And that's kind of always what it's been, even before, you know, your journey in growing closer with the Lord. I mean, you've always been a Christian, but where you really started digging deeper and you really started saying, hey, you know, what I've been told growing up churchy is not necessarily what the Bible says. And then it became, I need to share this.
Yeah.
We need to share this.
Everybody has to know this because it's so amazing.
Yeah. Like I wish somebody had shared this with me early in my journey, kind of a thing. And so, yeah, it makes me giggle and laugh because, you know, the people who want to be haters for you, it reminds me of high school. It reminds me of middle school. And I can say this being the person that was easily triggered by the kind of person that you are.
Which I think is a great point to bring up because you're right. We have been friends for a long time, but I definitely have one very distinct personality and you're kind of the opposite of that. And it really did, like, we had a rocky friendship there for a while because I think my type, you were the mean commenter on YouTube, right? That was like,
yeah,
oh, just very mess, like,
I totally was. And thank the Lord that, you know, God's used a lot of things in my life to grow me. And again, we're talking, you know, 12 years old, 13 years old folks. Don't come at me. I'm an adult now. I've grown up. But there was a lot going on in my life that was very unsettled. I mean, just a lot of different things from a lot of different angles. And there was a lot of stuff that we just didn't know then that we know now about the different ways that a brain can work and the different ways to be motivated. And so, you know, at the time, people who were overly emotional, like myself, we were just kind of left hanging in the wind trying to figure it out. And you were just labeled a drama queen that started issues. And there was no like, hey, maybe you're struggling to deal with things. And so for me, you were everything at the time that I wished I could be, but couldn't figure out. Like it was for you. Sometimes it seems so simple. You just declare it and just so. I was teasing you about this a couple of days ago. And that for me, I'm like, I've got to be in something and struggling with it for a while before it finally clicks. I can't just tell my brain, you're going to wake up tomorrow and this is how you're going to be. That just doesn't work. And so you always seemed so put together and you always seemed like, you know, it's not that your life was particularly easy either, by the way. I'm not saying that I just had it so hard and that Heidi had it so easy. It was just that your way of dealing with those things, you always had the ability to compartmentalize and then to focus on the things that would be beneficial to you, or at least that you felt would be beneficial to you at the time. And so that would make me feel very triggered because I was that person that for a really long time, if somebody else seemed to have it all together, that seemed like their way of saying that I didn't have anything together and that I was failing. So your success then seems like my failure, again, through the scope of teenagers.
Right.
And so it would make me mad. So like I loved you fiercely as a best friend, but also maybe kind of hated you a little bit. And I think that's what's happening though today is I think you have people that come on and they see and your stuff is overwhelmingly positive because that's just who you are. Your way of fixing things, even when you're talking about rough subjects, is, well, how can I be joyful in this moment and how can I share that? And that's what the Bible tells us to do. So your stuff is overwhelmingly positive, and then people go, oh, well, you're just uppity or self-righteous or, whatever it is. And I want to be very careful how I word this. I think that it's highly probable that a lot of the time, those comments may be coming from people that have things within themselves or their own lives that they're very upset with, and they can't figure out how to be who you are. And maybe it's because their personality doesn't function like you. And so maybe they just need to figure out how to get there using different steps. And there's this really cool thing with social media and YouTube and all of this stuff where you can just not watch it.
Yeah.
There's a pause video. If it doesn't work for you, you're not required to sit there and watch a 30 minute to an hour long video for the sole purpose of trying to tear somebody else down.
You can click away. I promise. It's okay.
Yeah. Like you're never going to know.
No. Mm-mm. No. Yeah.
And you never expected in a million years to have this many people watching your stuff.
No.
I remember when you hit like 50 and you were like,
wow, I cannot believe 50 people are watching this. Now there's 50,000. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, it's been a trip, but yeah. And like with Brandon too, again, he's grown and changed through all of this, but the core of who he is exactly the same. I mean, I would say he always had he was always kind of more openly compassionate, but in a weird way also presented a harder exterior.
Yeah.
And I think that's because he just got treated a very specific way because of the way he looked. He had piercings and tattoos and, he looked like he would be that rough guy. And so I think that he would to the outside world kind of portray, but he's always on the inside of his friend group and stuff been, exactly who he is right now. He doesn't swear anymore. Yeah. That's changed. But again, that's not YouTube. That's the Lord. No. That's just being in God's word and learning and growing. So yeah, it's funny to me. So no, like, yes, you've changed while you've done YouTube, but YouTube is not what changed you.
Yeah.
And all that's really happened is the pruning and the cutting away of all of the stuff that is not beneficial. Right. I mean.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something too, because I was like, have we I feel like I'm still me and I just share it, share the things that I really want to share. I've always been kind of on point about keeping my house tidy because I've noticed what an impact it has for me.
Well, if anything, your home is different in that you used to always need it to be a showpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yeah.
You were I need it to be like Better Homes and Garden. And, the decor was always on point. When you celebrated Christmas, it was always just this, huge thing. Yeah. And so if anything, you've toned it down. So again, the core of who you are is the same. You hit a point where it no longer became about the decor and it became about having a space in which you could have peace and calm rather than feeling self-satisfaction. So again, I feel like maybe that's the focus shifted, but the overall, what you do, your home is put together because you don't like how you feel when your home is not put together. But all the things in your home are from thrift stores.
Somebody left me a comment the other day about my overly expensive decor and I'm just throwing my wealth in people's faces or something. And I was like,
Look,
It comes from a thrift store. I'm so sorry.
without getting into super specifics, and I don't know, you might end up wanting to edit this out, but I don't think people realize. So I am in a single income family of 7 people.
Mhm.
Your monthly payment where you live, I think, is a third or less than half of what we pay on our mortgage. And you rent. So that's a huge deal because most rent actually costs twice what my
More,
mortgage
yeah.
does.
Mhm.
So that's hilarious to me.
Right. It's these assumptions though that people make when they see stuff. And it's like, I get it. Everybody's going to show, we all do it. We all make an assumption off of what we see. And so people see, and I'm like, I don't pay more than like $2 to $3 for like a painting or something if I get it. Like
That's true.
all of our clothes comes from thrift stores or secondhand because we take all your hand-me-downs all the time. We're like, yeah, we'll take it.
Homie thinks.
Homie things. Right. Like we work really hard to live on next to nothing because we think that any money we do have is far more valuable in other places. And like,
So this example just popped into my head. So you were cloth diapering
Mhm.
your oldest before that was like a thing.
yeah,
10
years ago.
Before that was a thing. You're the reason that I learned how that cloth diapering was possible and stuff. And what I think is really interesting is I think that a lot of people would look at that situation. Again, there you are, 18 years old, new baby, and you always did your best to make it feel like you were giving your son everything that he needed. Always. You were never going to be that teen mom that, it was just you grew up with a single mom. There's just a lot of motivating factors that went into that. But people, I think, could look at you and go, oh, well, you're cloth diapering because you're bougie and da-da-da-da-da. And that's so, no, dude, she couldn't afford diapers. So it's more like you've always been that one, like, how can I do what I need to do and afford it?
Yeah.
Always. It's always been, you've lost all of your earthly possessions multiple times. You have started from scratch multiple times. You've made a lot of money before.
Mhm.
Not now. She doesn't make anything right now.
No.
But you've been in a position where you have made a lot of money. I remember when everything was like, Coach, you got Coach shoes for your birthday one time. And I had a couple Coach bags that I got like as gifts and stuff. But your husband, who is arguably the clothes horse in the brand name one,
1,000%. Yes.
but he likes to dress you up. He likes it when you're put together. If people are getting judgy about the way you are, listen, your husband, the leader of your home, likes it when you're put together. He likes it when your nails are manicured. He likes these things. Heidi doesn't cut her hair. Why? Not because her husband forbade her from doing it, but because his preference is that she has long hair, very specifically. Side note, their children, daughters, have been allowed to have short hair. So it's not that there's any like weird, crazy thing going on because I just know somebody's gonna.
Right. As you talk, you hear the comments that are coming and you're like, what do you just say?
But yeah, like he would get you Coach shoes. And I just very distinctly remember you guys would, hey, we ordered, Outback Steakhouse for our whole family, just like on a weekday because everyone was hungry after work. Like, hey, I got to go pick it up. Like this was a daily thing for you. To now where it's sure everything's all put together, but like a splurge for you is a, $15-20 dress from Walmart that your husband has to order you to have.
Which I still can't believe that we spent, like, every time I put it on, I'm like, we spent $20 on a dress. Like, this is stressing me out.
These poor kids. Don't stain her dress, guys. That's a joke, people. Yeah. So So the then and now, it's just so funny because she's self-righteous. She's uppity, guys. She's like fallen in status. It's less, but then arguably more when you think about the things that matters and, what is actually wealth.
Yeah.
What actually matters. Everything else is going to burn. So we don't worry about that. Yeah. So it's hilarious to me. So yeah, has YouTube changed you? No. Have you changed while doing YouTube? Yes. because you've also grown in the Lord, and you've also, it's been a life of trial and error for you guys. I mean, again, you went from being a dual income household where not only did you have a dual income, you both had very good jobs, very good jobs, and you worked really hard to be where you were. You were the original model for, the lady boss.
Yeah.
To where you built up a business, and your husband ultimately left his very good job that he actually really enjoyed, with the whole reason you moved here.
Yeah.
And we're doing really, really well. And then, your decision to just gradually let that kind of fall away. It's not like you actively shut everything down, but you weren't putting as much spin into trying to get it. So yeah, if you wanted the really nice house with the really expensive things, you've proven more than once that you're totally capable of doing it. I think there's also an assumption with numbers that people go, oh, well, she puts out all of this YouTube content, and she looks presentable, therefore YouTube is just bankrolling her life. That is also not the case, especially when you make the decision not to monetize a lot of your stuff, or at least in the there's very specific content that you're like, we're not dealing with the ads because we can't control what the content of the ads is.
Yeah, we have
as much as you want.
Have our stuff set so strict that we know we don't get much in ad revenue. Like if I would open our stuff up, like we could really be rolling in the bank on some ad revenue, but it's not worth it. Absolutely. And I'm not allowing certain things. I mean, you can't control everything, but like,
no. And like the membership stuff you do, it's literally the cheapest that you can possibly make it. Like you're not trying, you could have made it more.
I know. I had some people send me other people that do comparable stuff to me, and I saw how much they charge, and I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome, right? Like, because the value's there, but I don't know. I just couldn't.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know. It's just ridiculous. And that's where, if people go way, way back, they'll see me engaging a lot more with the comments on the videos and stuff. And I actually had to stop altogether. In fact, I only watch your videos if I know that I'm going to be able to not click on the comment section. And I very intentionally don't even leave comments on your videos. I just talk to you about them if I feel like I have something to say, because I get, I'm more like my husband is my personality is way more like your husband's, just a little bit more emotionally charged, where it can be very hard for me to like step back and think logically about things. And so I get a little defensive.
We're warrioring everybody.
But, even that's not fair though, because I think, at the end of the day, people who want to go around and they want to make assumptions without even knowing your content. These are not people that watched you build this from the ground up. The ones that are leaving all of the, hateful things, or just even making assumptions, even maybe innocently saying it seems like this. Maybe they're not trying to be mean all the time.
Totally fair,
but I think that people, in my experience, at least with my own personality, before I really kind of just surrendered that all to the Lord, people who fall into I just am automatically going to view everything from a negative lens. Even if they're trying to word it nicely, you can tell that they're viewing it through a negative lens, have something within themselves that maybe they need to take a step back and let the Lord work on. Not calling them a bad Christian by any means. I am not making judgments about who these people are. I just know that often when people feel the need to spout off negativity, and there's a difference between those that are negative just to be hurtful or because they feel like they need to vent at you, and those who genuinely have a difference of opinion with you and maybe are just trying to open a friendly debate with you, because that definitely happens as well. But you can tell from the tone, people who are totally settled and calm and just there's nothing going on in them really that needs a whole lot of fixing, as far as just being controlled by the negative emotions. So if you're someone who's struggling with, these positive people that are all over YouTube, they just really irritate me and I just wish they would show real life, which you do show real life.
Yesterday's video sitting here sick with a fever. So I was like, I don't know how much more real I can get for y'all.
Yeah. So my advice to people would be maybe you should examine yourself and really pray about it, and maybe see if the Lord is calling you to maybe take a step back from being a keyboard warrior for a little bit. Not saying that you can't disagree with people, not saying that you can't have a genuine concern about the heart and motivation of the person who's posting the video, but there's definitely a way to go about it. And if you're really doing it for the Lord, like you really feel like someone is just making a mockery of what the Bible says, there's definitely a way to go about trying to correct someone or even open a dialogue to gain more understanding before you make assumptions.
Very well said. Well, thank you for being my phone a friend, because I think it's a valid question, because I think there are a lot of assumptions, and I understand it because we all make assumptions when you run into something.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference between me saying, no, guys, I'm not self-righteous. No, I promise you, I just like looking for the good things, because otherwise life sucks all the time and I don't want to do that. So I do this, and it genuinely just, it's what I do. It's how it comes for me. I just choose that I don't want my life to suck, and it's going to look better.
Yeah. And conversely, again, I think it's important to note that there just are those people who are wired differently. People like me, my natural, like my human nature, how I was built. People, I naturally will fall into that. I almost like wallowing in it. Not that I like enjoy it, but like you almost... I don't know what it is. Like you sit there and you wallow in the self-doubt and you wallow in it. And because if you didn't like it, why would you stay there? Like something in you is wanting to stay there. For me, I think it was fear of being held accountable for moving forward. I didn't want to do that. And so I would sit there. And so for people like that, your automatic outlook is very baffling.
Yes. Because I couldn't do that to save my life.
So, but you're welcome. I'm happy to join in anytime.
Well, I know we've got more fun things. We're going to come join us for chatty coffee dates, and we'll do more podcasts and things now that your life is all coming together. But thank you for being my phone a friend to share and answer this question for our show and tell.
You're so welcome.
So thank you to Alexis for being my amazing friend for 20 some odd years now. And I do hope that can help. I know that sometimes I'm probably not the person you want to hear, because I am going to always try to keep my house together and have it together. And I'm going to always look for the positive and always want to be encouraging, because that's what I want to be. And I'm going to go for it. And I'm full throttle all the way, and we'll figure it out as we go. But hopefully that can be an encouragement and something to truly help you here today. So I love you all. Thank you so much for hanging out with us each and every day. I got a little something else that I think you might enjoy. So let me leave that for you here. Bye, friends.